My son begged me to stay 5 more minutes at the park. I had no idea he was saving my life. My 4-year-old was throwing a tantrum because he wanted 5 more minutes on the swings. The divorce had been hard on him, and I was exhausted from fighting with my ex over custody schedules, so I almost just dragged him to the car anyway. But then I looked at his face, all red and tear-streaked, and I thought about how much he'd been through in the past 6 months. His whole world got ripped apart because his parents couldn't make it work. He didn't ask for any of this. None of it was his fault. So I put my keys back in my purse and said, "Okay, buddy, 5 more minutes." His whole face lit up like I'd just given him a puppy. He ran back to the swings and I pushed him, listening to him giggle every time he went high. "Higher, mommy, higher!" I kept pushing. The 5 minutes turned into 10, then 15. I wasn't even watching the clock anymore. I was just watching my son be happy for the first time in weeks. He'd been having nightmares since his dad moved out. He'd been wetting the bed again. His preschool teacher pulled me aside and told me he'd been crying at drop-off every single morning and asking when daddy was coming back. But right now, on these swings, he was just a kid again. I felt guilty for almost rushing him. I'd been so stressed about lawyers and custody papers and dividing up our entire life that I hadn't really been present with him. So I let him stay even longer. We did the slide, we did the monkey bars, he made a friend, and they chased each other around the sandbox while I sat on a bench and let myself breathe for the first time in months. When the sun started setting, I finally told him it was time to go. He didn't fight me this time. He just grabbed my hand and said, "Thanks, mommy. That was the best day ever." Those words hit me right in the chest. I buckled him into his car seat and kissed his forehead. We drove home the long way because he liked looking at the cows on Miller Road. I wasn't in any rush. Nobody was expecting us. It was just me and him now. When we turned onto our street, I saw the fire trucks first. 3 of them, lights flashing, blocking the whole road. Then I saw the smoke, thick and black, rising into the sky. Then I saw my house, or what used to be my house, completely engulfed in flames. Orange and red pouring out of every window, the roof caving in on itself, my son's bedroom window exploding from the heat. I slammed on the brakes and just stared. A firefighter ran over and asked if I lived there. I couldn't even speak. I just pointed at the address on the mailbox, the only thing still standing. He called someone on his radio and asked if anyone else was supposed to be home. I shook my head. "It's just us. It's just me and my son." My son started screaming in the backseat because he didn't understand what was happening. I didn't either. A neighbor took us in for a few hours while the firefighters finished. They said something about the fire starting in the back of the house, but I wasn't really listening. I was just holding my son, rocking him back and forth, telling him everything was going to be okay, even though I didn't believe it myself. That night, we checked into a hotel. I gave my son a bath and put him to bed and sat on the edge of the mattress staring at nothing. Everything we owned was gone. Every photo, every baby picture, every piece of our life together. I didn't even have a change of clothes for him in the morning. Around 9 o'clock, someone knocked on the door. It was a police officer. I stepped into the hallway so I wouldn't wake my son. The officer asked me if I was okay, and I told him I didn't know how to answer that question. Then he said, "Ma'am, I need to tell you something about the fire." I assumed he was going to say it was electrical, or the stove, or something I did wrong. "We found evidence of accelerant. Someone poured gasoline through your back door." I couldn't breathe. We also found a car parked 2 streets over. The driver had been sitting there for over an hour before the fire started. He paused. "Ma'am, we arrested your ex-husband about an hour ago." The hallway started spinning. He confessed to everything. He knew your routine. He knew exactly what time you and your son walked through that front door every single day. I grabbed the wall to keep myself from collapsing. "If you'd come home when you normally do, you both would have been inside when he lit the match." I looked back at the hotel room door where my son was sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that his tantrum over 5 more minutes on the swings had saved both our lives.
My host family said, "We've been to Milan. What you're telling us about it isn't true. Where are you really from?" They didn't know I was an undercover cop. "We've been to Milan." The uncle set down his fork. "What you're telling us about it isn't true." I felt ice flood my veins. The agency had set everything up. Italian passport, student visa, exchange program paperwork, 9 months of language coaching, 6 months of memorizing streets, piazzas, neighborhoods. They told me the cover was airtight. No one would question an 18-year-old exchange student. In reality, I wasn't 18. I wasn't Italian. I wasn't a student. I was a 26-year-old DEA agent who looked young enough to pass for a high schooler. And I'd been living with the Jaquez family for 3 months to get close to this man. Ramiro Jaquez, the uncle. Mid-level cartel connection. Not a boss, not a killer. Just a door to the people we actually wanted. I shrugged. "Maybe I'm thinking of a different area. You said you grew up near the Duomo." Ramiro's eyes hadn't left my face. "You said there was a gelateria on Via Torino where your mother took you every Sunday after church." "That's right. There's no gelateria on Via Torino. There's a bank. Has been for 15 years. The family had stopped eating. His brother, the wife, their daughter Sophia, all looking at me. Sophia's face was strange, not confused like the others. Something else. Something I couldn't read. I kept my voice steady. "Milan is a big city. I must have confused the streets." "You confused where your mother took you every Sunday?" "It was a long time ago." Ramiro leaned back. "What school did you go to?" I gave him a name. A real school. One I'd researched. My business partner's son went there. "What color were the uniforms?" My mind raced. The file hadn't included uniform colors. "Navy blue," I said. "They don't have uniforms. It's a public school." The silence was suffocating. The wife was gripping her napkin. His brother wanted to disappear. But Sophia was calm. Too calm. She hadn't touched her food in 5 minutes. "Where are you really from?" Ramiro asked quietly. "I told you. I'm Marco. You're not from Milan. You've never been to Italy." He leaned forward. "So I'm going to ask one more time. Where are you really from?" My backup piece was strapped to my ankle. My phone in my pocket. One call and agents arrive in 90 seconds. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "I think there hasn't." Ramiro stood slowly, walked around the table toward me. "Empty your pockets." I had 2 choices. Refuse and confirm everything, or comply and pray. I pulled out my phone, my wallet, set them on the table. Ramiro flipped open the wallet. Italian driver's license, student ID, everything agency made. Then his fingers found the back sleeve. My stomach dropped. The backup credential, emergency identification. I was supposed to remove it before deployment. I forgot. Ramiro pulled out the card. White, blue letters, federal seal. He read it out loud. Dr. G Enforcement Administration. Dead silence. His brother pushed back from the table. "What? Your exchange student is a federal agent." Ramiro's voice was terrifyingly calm. "He's been living in your house, spying on your family, not on them." I kept my voice steady. "On you. They were never the target, but I was. You're a connection, that's all." Ramiro stared at me, then laughed. Cold, empty. 3 months. You helped Maria with dishes, drove Sophia to school. He shook his head. And the whole time, his hand moved toward his waistband. I was faster. Backup piece in my hand, pointed at the floor. "There are agents on every corner. This house has been under surveillance since September September. Whatever you're thinking, don't. Ramiro's hand froze. Sirens in the distance. Then Sophia spoke. I knew. Everyone turned to her. What? Ramiro's voice was sharp. I knew. Sophia's face was stone. 3 weeks after he got here, I found the badge in his room, behind the dresser. My blood went cold. You knew for 3 months? Ramiro was staring at her. And you said nothing? I said nothing. Why? Sophia looked at her uncle. Really looked at him. And her face changed. Something dark. Something old. Because I wanted them to take you. The room stopped. Sophia, I know what you do. Her voice cracked. I know about the warehouse in Nogales. I know about the men who come to our house at night. I know about the girl from my school who disappeared last year because her father owed you money. Ramiro's face went white. I've known for 2 years. And I couldn't tell anyone because you're family. Because mom would never believe me. Because dad is too scared of you to do anything. Tears were streaming down her face now. So when I found that badge, I put it back. And I prayed he would do what I couldn't. She looked at me. You did. The front door burst open. Agents flooded in, shouting, weapons drawn. They pulled Ramiro's hands behind his back, cuffed him. He didn't resist. He was still staring at Sophia, his niece. They led him toward the door. He stopped in front of her. I would have never hurt you. Sophia wiped her eyes. You already did.